we're going to watch this video by Pyrrhix, Symboli Rudolf, the Emperor, the Triple Crown, the Legend.
The Ashen Beast of Kasamatsu, the Black Assassin, the Conqueror of the Century's End. These are all titles given to some of Japan's most notable racehorses, solidifying their legacy long after their retirement, forever remembered in the world of horse racing. Nicknames are given to identify monumental victories or upsets that a horse achieved over the span of their career. For Oguri Cap, it would be the sheer amount of victories he displayed both in Kasamatsu and in graded races. For Rice Shower, it would be the major Triple Crown upsets against McQueen and Bourbon. And for TM Opera O, it would be the undefeated year of racing at the century's end.
That animation is so cool. How it went like from hand-drawn and then just boom into this explosive pose.
All of these titles hold significant weight. However, one nickname displays a history of sheer dominance: Emperor. This title was given to a racehorse who would rival some of the strongest of his era and emerge victorious, claiming the title of a Triple Crown victor. A racehorse who in Uma Musume is displayed as a calm and collected senior and the president of the student council, one who many look up to at Tracen Academy. This is the story of Symboli Rudolf, the emperor who would seize the Triple Crown. Symboli Rudolf raced between the years of 1983 to 1986, and at the time of his career, there would only be 3 racehorses given the Triple Crown title. These horses would be Saint Light in 1941, Shinzan in 1964, and Mr. CB in 1983. The one important thing to note before we dive into Rudolph's career is the introduction of the grading system first introduced in 1984. Graded races were created to identify the varying level of difficulty of each individual race.
I believe, right, graded races were barely introduced a little before Mr. CB and Symboli Rudolf started racing. I could be misremembering though, but I think that's what was the case.
This evaluation, unsurprisingly, would also come with an increasing level of difficulty in terms of competitors. Graded races had originally started in Europe, with the European pattern race system being implemented in 1972. Following this, TOBA, or the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association, would begin their own grading project in North America in 1973. This was in response to European requests for a similar system to be established, and the first list of North American graded stakes were later published in 1974. In the years leading up to the implementation of the graded system, there wasn't a Triple Crown series. Instead, Japan had what was known as the 8 Great Races, or the Hachi Daikyo So. This set of races included the 5 Great Classics, these being the Oka Sho, Satsuki Sho, Tokyo Yushun, Yushun Himba, and the Kika Sho. In addition, both the Spring and Autumn Tenno Sho as well as the Arima Kinen would be added to the series of great races.
So that was the 8 great races. Oh, interesting. So those are the ones that later essentially became some of the Triple Crown races. Himba means mare filly. Oh, I didn't know that either. Okay, look at you guys teaching me.
These were considered as the most prestigious races in Japan at the time, with the establishment of the new grading system ranging from G3 to G1 races. That meant only one thing: new records could be set and new legacies created. And that's where our story begins. Symboli Rudolf was born on March 13, 1981 in the town of Mobetsu, Hokkaido. He was sired by Partholon and Sweet Luna. Luna was a daughter of Speed Symboli, a renowned Japanese racehorse who was the first ever to compete in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Symboli is in honor of the Symboli farm, which is where Rudolf was born. Rudolf refers to Rudolf I, an early king of Germany. During the early years
I didn't know that Rudolph was named after the king. That's cool.
of Rudolph's life, he'd be trained and conditioned to participate in a newly established Triple Crown series alongside his trainer, Yuji Nohira. On July 23, 1983, Symboli Rudolf would take to the turf for the first time, participating in his debut race at the Niigata racecourse. Compared to the rest of Rudolph's career, this course was surprisingly short, being only 1,000 meters in total.
Oh, wow.
Due to Rudolph's sire's lineage, this was a test of his racing capabilities. Partholon was an Irish racehorse, with those horses being better suited for short-distance sprint races. 1,000-meter courses are usually run with either one corner in a final stretch, or over the course of a straight line, making it optimal for a display of Rudolph's capabilities.
I thought it was for Santa's reindeer. I mean, it could be both, right? We can just believe that it's both.
Rudolph would place first in this race, establishing a promising career to come. From his debut race in July till the end of the year, Rudolph would participate in 2 more ungraded races alongside his jockey Yukio Okabe. These 2 races would be the Ichio Tokubetsu on October 29, 1983, and an open race held in Tokyo on November 27th of the same year. Rudolph would place first in these 2 ungraded races, only further solidifying the possibility for him to be a strong competitor in the years that followed.
Yeah, 1,000
The
is
open
really
race that
short.
Rudolph attended in 1983 would also hold a great significance that would play a role in the future events of Rudolph's career. Originally, the plan was to enter Rudolph in the Asahi High Futurity Stakes, a major G1 stake-graded race for 2-year-old thoroughbreds. This is seen as a year-end championship for the 2-year-old division in horse racing in Japan. Rudolph, by this point, definitely displayed the qualities to win this race. However, his owner had another plan in mind. The open race Rudolph participated in was held in Tokyo, and it just so
Japan Cup.
happens to have landed on the same day as the Japan Cup in 1983. Rudolph's owners aimed to show visiting fans and racers alike the sheer strength that Rudolph had even at an early age, a display of confidence against some of the most fierce racers from around the world. This was during a period where Japanese racehorses were fighting to secure a victory against foreign competitors.
So they just wanted to showcase Rudolph's power, huh? They wanted to showcase just how strong Rudolph could be. That's cool. I respect the confidence.
Making this declaration all the more risky for Rudolph. With this declaration of power, Rudolph would wrap up his first year of racing with 3 total races, placing first in each one. The Japanese Triple Crown
Impressive.
Series is only available for 3-year-old thoroughbreds, so for Rudolph, his only opportunity would be in the year 1984. Before competing in the Triple Crown Series, Rudolph first needed to qualify by winning a preliminary race. Due to this, he would enter to compete in the 1984 Yayoi Show, which would be held on March 4th. The Yayoi Show doesn't only act as a preliminary requirement for the Triple Crown Series, but also is widely seen as a key trial race for the Satsuki Show, bringing in a list of strong competitors.
I believe I learned that from Narita Taishin, because in her career path, she has the Yayoi Show to prepare for the, I believe, Satsuki Show, if I'm remembering correctly.
Among them was a horse named Baizen Nishiki, an undefeated racehorse who also had 3 victories under his belt. Nishiki would be the fan favorite to win due to a G3 victory he'd achieved at the Kyoto High Yonsai Stakes in February. Despite the strong competition, Rudolph proved to the audience just how capable he was to claim victory. In the final spurt of the race, Rudolph advanced to the front of the pack, overtaking Nishiki to solidify his ability to
Yeah, that
compete in the
late
Triple
surge
Crown
was so
Series.
impressive there.
With this upset of the fan favorite, Rudolph would move on to begin his journey for the Triple Crown title. One important thing to note is that up until this point, Okabe, Rudolph's jockey, would also have a history of jockeying Nishiki, from the beginning of his career in 1983 up until the Kyoto High Yonsai Stakes.
Oh, so he rode a lot of the horses at that time because, as Stevie there says in chat, Kobe also rode Taiki Shuttle. Interesting. It's disappointing that Rudolph rarely gets depicted having opportunities to shine in Uma Musume. Yeah, hopefully she'll have more of a chance to shine at some point.
Okabe, prior to racing in the Yayoi Show, was presented a choice. He had to choose between jockeying Nishiki or Rudolph at the Yayoi Show. Okabe chose Rudolph despite Nishiki, at the time, being evaluated as the stronger between the two. Okabe's choice to jockey Rudolph will result in Nishiki's owners discarding Okabe as a jockey in the future, seeing this choice as an act of betrayal. Once more, Rudolph would be faced against Baizen Nishiki.
Man, the jockey world is tough.
This time, with much greater stakes on the line. This would mark the first Satsuki Show to be held under the new graded system, also ushering in the first year of the Triple Crown Series. After Rudolph's victory at the Yayoi Show, he was declared as a fan favorite to win. As the race began, Rudolph would hover mid-pack before accelerating after the 4th corner. In doing so, he would once more find himself in the home stretch against Nishiki. Just like the Yayoi show, Rudolf would pull ahead of his competitor, finishing the race a whole length ahead of Nishiki. This wasn't only a first place finish, but also a record-setting time of 2 minutes
Nice.
1.1 seconds. One important thing to note is the fact that Okabe, despite Rudolph's many victories, hadn't raised a whip on him once. Rudolph was seen as an intelligent horse who understood when to act during crucial moments in a race.
Yeah, didn't even need the riding crop. Instantly knew just what to do. Definitely shows signs of high intelligence.
Upon claiming victory, Okabe would hold one finger over his head.
The one finger pose, and then the two, and then the three gets me every time. It was such a genius little pose to do. It is S+ tier.
Signifying this was the first of 3 victories to claim the Triple Crown. After the Sasuke show, held on April 5, 1984, Rudolph would set his sights on the Tokyo Yushun, which would be held on May 27th. At this point in Rudolph's short career, he had already made a name for himself as a fierce and feared competitor. Several racehorses avoided running in the Tokyo Yushun simply because Rudolph was a competitor.
Oh, so Rudolph scared the competitors, kind of like Marzinski. People didn't want to race against Marzinski. I didn't know the same thing happened with Rudolph as well.
As the Tokyo Yushun began, Okabe would later admit in interviews that he was hasty to have Rudolph advance forward during the second leg of the race. Rudolph was hanging in 7th to 8th place over a majority of the race itself, most likely shaking Okabe, leading to an early command to spurt to avoid a devastating loss. For the first time in his career with Rudolph, Okabe would raise the whip and strike Rudolph to command him to move forward. However, despite his jockey's hasty decision, Rudolph would continue to keep his pace. As the racers reached the final...
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. He still said, nah, I know what I'm doing, jockey. Trust. And, well, he did his job.
Turn to the home stretch, Okabe would state that it was as if Rudolph were speaking to him. Hold on tight being what he heard. After this moment, Rudolph would surge from the outside from 7th place all the way to 1st. Much of Rudolph's career isn't shown in the Uma Musume anime. However, the Tokyo Yushun is an exception.
Man,
the Yushun
that was so good. Jeez.
is displayed in Season 2, Episode 1, where we see Tokai Teo, a real-life offspring of Rudolph, observing her second victory in the Triple Crown series.
Aw, cute. Look how cute she is.
Just like in the anime, following this
The
race,
two.
Okabe
The
would hold
two.
2 fingers over his head, signifying the second win of the series.
Imagine how confident you had to be to do that, because if you lose, you know everyone's going to mock you and make fun of you and kind of like treat you as a joke. But he had the confidence to hold up the fingers knowing he was going to win each race. The confidence on that is just super impressive to me.
This victory only left the Kika show to claim the Triple Crown. Rudolph's calm demeanor, even when all hope seemed lost, taught his jockey a lot about the horse itself. He would later admit that this race in particular would teach him a lot about horse racing. Before racing in the Kika show, Rudolph would participate in the Saint Light Kinen, a G3 race held on September 30th, 1984. At this point in his career, Rudolph had already displayed a unique aptitude for courses of varying lengths. Despite his first year of racing being on courses ranging from 1,000 to 1,600 meters, Rudolph still managed wins in medium and long distance races, ranging in length from 2,000 to 3,200 meters. Especially due to the lineage Rudolph was from, this was seen as a remarkable feat. It's rare to come across racehorses capable of performing well over all 4 aptitudes on the racecourse. Just like the Sasuke show, Rudolph wouldn't only win the Saint Light Kinen, but also set a record time of 2 minutes 13.4 seconds. This would mark Rudolph's 7th consecutive win, retaining his title as an undefeated racehorse, even after claiming 2 of the 3 Triple Crown titles. In the entirety of Japanese horse racing,
That image of standing on all those bodies of Umas is impressive and also horrifying all at the same time.
even before the establishment of the grading system, there hadn't been a single competitor who claimed the Triple Crown without suffering a single loss. Shinzan would suffer a 2nd place finish a month before winning the Kika show, while Mr. CB would place 2nd a year before competing for the Triple Crown title. Saint
The Uma of Umas.
Light, much like CB and Shinzan, would also suffer a second place finish prior to claiming the Triple Crown. If the stakes were high at the Tokyo Yushun, they would be even greater at the Kika Show. Unlike the Tokyo Yushun, Okabe would enter this race with more confidence, knowing he could rely on Rudolph's racing capabilities. During the span of this race, Rudolph would comfortably hang near the front of the pack before the last straight, where he'd break away and secure his first place position. For a moment, it seemed as though a fierce rush to the finish line would take place, with Goldway tailing close behind Rudolph. Despite the pressure, Rudolph would break away fully, and solidify
Look at
himself as
that.
the fourth horse to claim the Triple Crown title.
Nice.
In addition to this prestigious achievement, Symboli Rudolf would also be the first horse in Japan's history to claim the Triple Crown title undefeated, winning 8
Undefeated Triple Crown. What an absolute legend.
of the total races he'd enter over the span of his career. To further emphasize how impressive this achievement was, at the time of writing the script in 2025, there would only be 2 racehorses to achieve the same victory, these horses being Deep Impact in 2005 and Contrail in 2020. To win the Triple Crown series is an impressive feat in itself, but it is nearly unheard of to win without suffering a single loss at all in a horse's career.
Yeah, and we do have Almond Eye with the triple tiara.
With the win of the 3rd Triple Crown race under their belt, Okabe would confidently hold up 3 fingers following the win at the Kika Show, solidifying the establishment of Japan's 4th Triple Crown winner. Following the Kika Show, Rudolph would put himself to the test. As his owners had displayed a year prior at the open race in Tokyo, it was time for Rudolph to show the world what he was capable of. On November 25, 1984, Symboli Rudolf would participate in the Japan Cup. It would be at this international race where Rudolph would face some of the strongest horses in his career, 2 notable names being Mr. CB, the previous year's Triple Crown victor, and Katsuragi Ace.
Well, I wonder what's going to happen in this race.
Ace, although not a Triple Crown racehorse, was a fierce competitor in his own regard, having secured several victories over the span of his career leading up to the Japan Cup. He had clear potential to give Rudolph a challenge. Ace's style of running was very similar to that of Silent Suzuka, a horse covered in one of my previous videos. A runaway method style of racing, running at full speed from the start to finish at the front of the pack. With such a strong lineup of Japanese competitors, hopes are also very high to have Japan secure a victory for the first time since the race's establishment. Since the Japan Cup's creation in 1981, Japan had suffered consecutive losses from foreign competitors. Even though Rudolph fought hard in this race, he'd unfortunately suffer the first loss of his career. Even though Rudolph had a bad temperament while in the stables, being nicknamed as the Lion, Rudolph was a horse who normally had a calm temperament on the racecourse, being able to remain composed even in critical situations. Even so, after suffering this defeat, Rudolph would show clear irritation at his first loss.
Oh, I didn't know Rudolph got mad at his own loss. Wow. And not only that too, but it's super impressive of Katsuragi Ace to give Rudolph his first loss. So hats off to Katsuragi Ace for sure. Katsuragi Ace, I do love her color scheme. I probably won't be a while until she comes to global, but I do look forward to it.
Even though he didn't place first, it's still remarkable that Rudolph finished 3rd in a race against the world's strongest competitors. The Kika Show was held only 2 weeks prior to the Japan Cup, giving Rudolph little time to recover for such a critical race. Though Katsuragi Ace isn't in the Uma Musume anime, she is present in the game, where she both looks up to Rudolph and CB as inspirations, but also as rivals. Impressively, Ace would hold first place for a majority of the race, his front-running style showing clear domination of speed and power with this victory. There wasn't much time to wallow in defeat though. Only a month following the Japan Cup, the Arima Kinen would be held. Originally, Rudolph's trainer had no plans of entering him in this race. However, one sudden announcement would change that decision.
Oh, so she wasn't in the anime yet as of the making of this video, but now she has made an appearance. Good to know.
Katsuragi Ace's owners would announce his retirement after competing in the Arima Kinen. We've seen before instances of rivals suddenly retiring and the whole left with never being able to overcome past defeats. a prime example being Jungle Pocket with Agnes Tachyon. Due to this sudden announcement, and seeking revenge for the Japan Cup's defeat, Symboli Rudolf would be registered to race in the 1984 Arima Kinen. Once more, just like the Japan Cup, Rudolf, Ace, and CB would be put against one another. Many spectators saw this as a continuation of the Japan Cup race, with three of
Round
the
two,
strongest racehorses
fight.
of their generation being put against one another. Throughout the entirety of the race, Rudolf kept a close mark on Ace, and on the final straight, would accelerate, surpassing Ace and claiming a victory at the Arima Kinen.
Getting his
This
revenge.
would also mark another record time set by Rudolf, finishing the race at 2 minutes 32.8 seconds. A loss in the previous month had only pushed Rudolf and his handlers to strive for even greater achievements in the future. Following this victory, Rudolf would end the year of 1984 with the Triple Crown title, and only one loss in his career. Now, for many
Crazy.
horses we cover in these videos, normally that would be the end of our story. Rudolf would either retire or become a breeding stud. But this is the Emperor we're talking about here, and we still need to
that is
cover the
such a
race that gave him
cool-
that title.
Oh, that is such a cool scene. Oh, that's so good. Look at that. Man.
Entering the year of 1985, Rudolf would compete in 6 total races. Coming off such a dominating year that was 1984, expectations were high to see more victories from the public. On March 31st, he'd compete in the first race of the year, the Nikkei Show, a G2 graded race. Starting the year strong, Rudolf would seize yet another victory, making his overall record at this time 10-1. Following the Nikkei Show, Rudolf would race in the Spring Tenno Show,
You just can't be
claiming
stopped.
another victory in his 3rd year of racing. At this point, Rudolf was displaying his strong presence on the racecourse once more. However, in Rudolf's race history, one particular race would stand out. Following the Spring Tenno Show held on April 29th, Rudolf would be set to race on June 2nd at the Takarazuka Kinen. There isn't any placement record for this race though, with Rudolf being scratched from the competition.
Wait,
A day
why?
before the Takarazuka Kinen, while training at the Hashin racecourse, Rudolf would slip due to the mud that had newly formed on the track.
Oh,
Due to this, Rudolf would suffer a shoulder injury and Okabe's slight bruising from being thrown from the fall. Though his handlers expected a
Oh, wow,
speedy
I didn't know about
recovery
that.
following the cancellation of the Takarazuka Kinen, a new problem would quickly arise. Rudolf began experiencing muscle pains along with his shoulder injury, and to make matters worse, the process in order to treat his injuries would be painful for the racehorse.
oh man.
At the risk of retirement, Rudolph's owners would authorize a treatment utilizing fine needles to aid with muscle stimulation, as well as extracting infected blood riddled with bacteria. This method of recovery was a gamble in itself, but luckily, Rudolph would eventually recover,
Oh,
aiming to
wow.
participate in the remaining G1 races of 1985. On October 27, 1985,
Oh, so the acupuncture that you get from beauty was based off of that.
Rudolph would enter the Autumn Tenno
And I assume that's why it has a chance to work and not work. Oh, that is so interesting.
Show. Having won the Spring Tenno Show, he was highly expected to claim yet another victory. Just like the Japan Cup, this race would result in Rudolph's 2nd loss of his career. One interesting thing to note is the fact that, despite Rudolph's many victories, his defeats were discussed much more in the racing world. Rudolph was such a strong competitor. However, his losses were very infrequent and always at high-stake races. The Japan Cup against the world's strongest competitors, and the Autumn Tenno Show, where he would have set yet another record if he'd placed first. Up until this point, no racehorse had ever claimed back-to-back victories at the Spring and Autumn Tenno Show. It wouldn't be until Tamamo Cross's career in 1988 that the record will be set. This thought of not only becoming the first Japanese racehorse to win the Japan Cup, but also the possibility of being the first horse to win back-to-back victories at the Tenno shows, left a lot of expectation on the table for Symboli Rudolf. Speaking of the Japan Cup, following the Autumn Tenno show, that would be the exact race that Rudolf would participate in next.
Oh,
A month
let's
following the
see it.
Tenno show, on November 25th,
I'm excited.
1985, Symboli Rudolf would once more take to the racecourse, facing off against the strongest from around the world once again. The pressure was not only there for Rudolf to redeem himself from last year's defeat, but now, to also continue the winning streak Katsuragi Ace had established a year prior. Both Ace and CB wouldn't be participating in this race, leaving the door
They
wide
would be in
open for
spirit,
Rudolph to
though.
rise to claim Japan's second victory at this race. Unsurprisingly, Rudolph would be set as the overall fan favorite to win, with Golden Ivory from the United States being the second favorite overall. Once more, at the final stretch of the race, Rudolph would surge ahead
Look
of
at
his
that.
competition, claiming victory as the second
See
racehorse
ya.
in Japanese history to
Rudolph.
win the Japan
Zoom.
Cup title. This not only was monumental after a crushing defeat at the Autumn Tenno show, but also would earn Symboli Rudolf the nickname of Emperor. Rudolph had not only claimed the Triple Crown title without any losses at the time, but also would stand atop of the world's strongest at the 1985 Japan Cup.
Wait, is this man holding up 6 fingers? Is that what he's doing there? Is he just showboating now? I respect it.
These back-to-back victories also hold a great significance in Japanese horse racing history, instilling faith that Japanese-bred horses could contest the strongest from around the world. Funnily enough, Rudolph was such a strong competitor that betting tickets in his favor were commonly referred to as bank tickets, with those betting on Rudolph knowing that it wasn't a gamble whatsoever, but a guaranteed payout instead.
Nice.
A presence so strong that victory was deemed absolute. A commercial which aired in 2013 by the JRA would use Rudolph as an example to highlight the Japan Cup held that year. It would state the following message. The 1985 Japan Cup. A man once said, "There are no absolutes in horse racing, but that horse is an exception. A horse whose 3 defeats make you want to speak more than his many victories. Symboli Rudolf, the eternal emperor. That autumn, Japan had reached the world. Conquer the globe."
Oh,
This was showcased
so
that even
cool.
decades after Rudolph's retirement, his impact and legacy would still stand strong as the years progressed. Following the victory at the Japan Cup, Rudolph would participate in his second Arima Kinen on December 22, 1985. Due to this being Rudolph's last race in Japan, the goal was simple. It wasn't just to win, but to show the audience a sheer display of power that Rudolph possessed. Okabe didn't mark any competitors this time around, instead trusting in Rudolph to show the audience a true spectacle of horse racing. Ending off a dominating legacy, Rudolph would win his second Arima Kinen, ending his career in Japan with sheer dominance.
That is
Over
so
the span
impressive.
of his career in Japan,
Man.
Rudolph would be registered for a total of 16 races, placing first in 13, second and third in 1, and having to withdraw from the Takarazuka Kinen. With such a strong legacy
Such an
established in
impressive
Japan,
record.
Rudolph's new aim was to take on the world. In 1986, Rudolph would aim to compete in the L'Arc de Triomphe. Evidently, Rudolph's owners at the Symboli Ranch wanted to rake in more profits that came with Rudolph's victories. Against the request of Rudolph's trainer, Yuji Nohira, Rudolph would be registered to race in the San Luis Race Stakes held in the United States. Nohira was concerned of having Rudolph race in such close succession to traveling and undergoing rigorous training. This lack of
Yeah, that
self-awareness
is
for Rudolph's
risky.
well-being would come to backfire on the owners of the Symboli Ranch, with Rudolph placing 6th at the San Luis Race Stakes. Rudolph would be injured in this race,
Oh, man.
suffering from a sudden outbreak of ligamentitis. Had Rudolph been properly trained and conditioned, we would have seen one of the greatest races in history, Symboli Rudolf versus Dancing Brave, an extremely strong racehorse from America who won the L'Arc de Triomphe in 1986. Sirius Symboli, a horse from the same ranch as Rudolph, would compete in Rudolph's stead, placing a devastating 14th in the L'Arc de Triomphe. After returning to Japan, Symboli Rudolph
One day Japan will win the Arc. One day. And I will be here for it.
would celebrate his retirement with his handlers holding a ceremony for him on December 7, 1986. As Rudolph walked amidst the crowd, he could be seen wearing the 7 Crowns number, signifying the wins over his career. A year after this event took place, Symboli Rudolph would be inducted to the JRA Hall of Fame for the sheer dominance that his career displayed in Japan. In retirement, Symboli Rudolph would become a breeding stud who would produce several strong offspring, the most notable being Tokai Teo, who I've also done a video about
Heyo.
if you'd like to check that out. Rudolf would enjoy visitors and retirement life until 2011, where he would pass away at the age of 30. This is also
Aw,
notable
rest in
due to just
peace.
how long Rudolf lived, and even in retirement, still maintaining a sharp physique. Horses normally live till their mid-20s, making Rudolf's title as emperor hold much more value even in his retirement. Rudolf's legacy still holds its weight even in modern day, with many regarding him as one of the strongest horses to ever emerge from Japan. So let me ask you this simple question. After listening to this extensive history of our beloved emperor, wouldn't you like to see an Uma Musume anime season dedicated to him?
Yes.
There's many Umas who surround Rudolph that could be given the spotlight as well, such as Katsuragi Ace and Mr. CB. Even though Rudolph's career ended with a crushing defeat, his legacy remains as one of the strongest in Japan. This was the story of Symboli Rudolf, a racehorse who showed sheer strength against the world's strongest, personified in Uma Musume as the Emperor of Traisen Academy, the ideal, the pinnacle of the racing
I
world.
love that pose right there.
Did you enjoy this video? And
I
who
did.
should I cover next? Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all for joining me, and as always, I will see you all in the next one.
Nice. All right, let's drop a like. That was really, really good. Always enjoy Pyrrhix's videos. Always 10 out of 10.